So you're thinking about making your mark in India's absolutely booming economy? Well, you've come to the right place. In this explainer, we're going to break down the essential skills you need to not just get by, but to really, truly thrive as an entrepreneur by 2025. Let's dive in.
I mean, just to wrap your head around the scale of what's happening, look at this number. Over 110 unicorns, we're talking startups valued at over $1 billion, have been born right here in India. This isn't just some passing trend. It's a full-blown revolution, and it signals a landscape of absolutely immense opportunity.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with India's new economic reality. Then we'll really nail down what the entrepreneurial mindset is. After that, we'll dig into the essential skills you need, why they matter so much, and then give you a practical roadmap to get started. Finally, we'll look at the path forward.
Okay, first up, let's talk about India's new economic reality. You have to understand that it's this really dynamic mix of massive opportunities, but also some pretty unique challenges that really define what it means to be an entrepreneur here today.
The scale we're talking about here is just staggering. We're looking at over 140,000 recognized startups. That makes India the world's third largest startup ecosystem. And this incredible explosion in growth, it's being supercharged by big government initiatives you've probably heard of, like Startup India and Atmanirbhar Bharat, which are all about boosting innovation and self-reliance. So this landscape really brings up a critical question for literally every founder out there. When you don't have unlimited resources, and who does, how do you balance taking those bold, game-changing risks with the smart, prudent resilience you need to survive the tough times? Dot right there, that's the core puzzle you've got to solve. And that question, it leads us perfectly into our next section, defining the entrepreneurial mindset. Because, it's so much more than just the mechanics of starting a business. It is a completely different way of seeing the world. So what do we mean by entrepreneurial skills? Well, think of it as this unique combination. It's the mindset to see an opportunity where everyone else sees a problem, the behaviors to actually do something about it, and the ability to build real lasting value, especially when the path forward is anything but clear.
And this little comparison just illustrates the difference perfectly. A traditional manager is great at optimizing a system that's already running. They make the train run on time. But an entrepreneur? They thrive in the chaos and uncertainty. They don't just work inside existing structures. They build brand new ones, often from scratch with very little to start with.
Okay, now for the really practical stuff. What are the actual core competencies you need to be building right now? Let's break down the essential skill set you're going to need for 2025.
You can basically group these skills into 3 big domains, using a framework called EntreComp. First, you've got ideas and opportunities. That's about spotting that gap in the market no one else sees. Then there's resources. This is all about mobilizing what you need, whether it's that first bit of funding, finding a brilliant co-founder, or building your network. And finally, into action. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's about execution and just navigating the storm when things get tough.
Let's dig into this first set of skills because they're absolutely vital. Resource mobilization is huge right now because the funding scene in India is just exploding, and you have to know how to get in on it. Financial literacy, honestly, this is about survival. It's the bedrock that keeps the lights on and prevents so many good ideas from failing early. And leadership? That's what turns your idea into a real company with a great culture that people actually want to work for.
But wait, there's more. You absolutely need sales and marketing, especially the art of growth hacking when you have almost no budget. Adaptability is, well, it's a superpower. The market can change on a dime, and your ability to pivot is everything. And more, ethical and sustainable thinking isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a must-have. It's what investors and customers are demanding.
So we know what the skills are, but let's talk about the so what. Why do they matter so much? Because their impact goes way beyond just your own personal success. We're talking about something that shapes the entire nation. The impact is truly massive. First, you've got the direct economic contribution through job creation. Simple as that. Then there's entrepreneurship. That's when these same skills fuel innovation inside big companies, keeping them sharp. These skills also drive inclusivity by empowering founders from all walks of life. And they are the engine behind India's global ambition, creating companies that can win on the world stage.
Now, of course, we've got to be realistic. The path is not all smooth sailing. Entrepreneurs still face some major hurdles, from navigating really complex regulations and finding the right talent, to overcoming some pretty serious gaps in who gets access to funding.
And all of this brings us to what might be the most important part,
turning all this knowledge into action. So here is a practical guide to start building your own skills roadmap, and you can start today.
It's the big question, isn't it? You know what the skills are, you know why they matter, but what's the very first step? How do you actually get started on this journey?
Here's a simple 4-step roadmap for you. First, self-assess. Be honest about where your gaps are. You can even use tools on the Startup India portal. Second, find your learning pathway. There are tons of great courses out there. Third, and this is the most important one, learn by doing. Nothing, and I mean nothing, beats real-world experience. Get into a hackathon or an internship. And finally, build your network like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does.
And if you take one thing away today, let it be this. Skills are not built just by reading a book. They develop through action. The best way to do it is to start small, try something, see what happens, learn from it, and do it again. It is all about real-world application.
So, as we wrap this all up, let's take a final look at the path forward and what all of this really means for you creating your own future. You know, when you boil it all down, this is the heart of the entrepreneurial mindset. It's that incredible ability to look at a challenge and see an opportunity. By building these skills, you're not just creating a company, you're building a life of personal fulfillment. And at the same time, you're directly contributing to the nation's progress.
Which really just leaves us with one final, powerful question to think about. With this entire world of possibility laid out in front of you, what opportunity will you create first?